Imagine, if you will, an ordinary house on an ordinary street, but inside, something is far from ordinary. This house, seemingly like any other, is a facade for the inexplicable. It's a two-story dwelling with a white picket fence, a manicured lawn, and an old oak tree in the front yard. It's the kind of place you'd imagine children running around in, a place where neighborhood barbecues happen, where laughter and joy are the usual soundtrack. But the reality of this house is a stark contrast to its outward appearance. The veneer of normalcy is just that, a veneer. A layer of deception hiding a dark, sinister secret. A secret that chills the bones and makes the bravest hearts quiver. A secret that the walls of this house have witnessed, absorbed, and now whisper to those who dare to listen. This house, it's not just a building, it is a living, breathing entity. It has a pulse that is cold and eerie. It has a heartbeat that echoes through the hallways, a rhythm of dread that syncs with the ticking of the clock on the wall. A clock that no longer tells time, but counts down to something chillingly unknown. The rooms within this house, they don't offer comfort or shelter. Instead, they trap and ensnare, their seemingly mundane corners holding shadows that seem to move and twist of their own accord. Each room is a labyrinth of fear, a maze of terror that leaves one disoriented and filled with a sense of dread. The air within this house, it's heavy. It's saturated with a sense of unease. It's as if the very oxygen molecules are laced with fear. Every breath drawn inside is a gulp of apprehension, a swallow of impending doom. In this house, nothing is as it seems. The walls whisper with the echoes of the past, and the air is heavy with dread. This is only the beginning, a chilling beginning. What lies ahead? Well, that remains to be seen and heard. As soon as you cross the threshold, you feel it. A chill that seeps into your bones, an unseen presence that watches from the shadows. Invisible eyes seem to follow your every move, a sensation that is both unsettling and impossible to shake. It's as if the very air around you has been charged with an otherworldly energy, a silent spectator in the room. The feeling is so palpable, so real, that you could almost reach out and touch it, but your hand finds nothing but the cold, empty space. This house, this entity that you've stepped into, it has a way of making its presence known. You'll notice it in the cold spots that seem to appear out of nowhere, chilling patches of air, like pockets of winter in an otherwise warm room. They're not just random temperature fluctuations, they are the unseen inhabitant of the house, making itself known in the only way it can. Objects in the house have a life of their own. A book falls off a shelf with no one around. A chair scrapes across the floor when no one is sitting in it. Doors creak open and slam shut with no visible force acting upon them. These are not mere coincidences. They are the house's way of communicating, of expressing its displeasure at your intrusion. You hear whispers, soft murmurs that float on the edge of your hearing. They're unintelligible, yet eerily familiar, like echoes of a conversation that once took place within these walls. They're not just random noises, they're remnants of the past, echoes of the unseen presence that dwells within this house. The feeling of being watched never leaves. It's always there, an omnipresent observer that sees all and tells nothing. You feel it in the pit of your stomach, a gnawing unease that grows with each passing moment. This house is no ordinary dwelling. It's a vessel, a conduit for something that exists beyond our understanding, something that lurks in the shadows and watches from the corners of your eye. It's a presence, an entity, a silent watcher in the dark. The house is alive, and it's not happy you're here. To understand the haunting, we must delve into the house's dark history. The house, rooted deep in the heart of the town, has a past as twisted as the gnarled oak that stands sentinel in its front yard. Its story begins over a century ago, with a family whose name has been all but forgotten. The patriarch, a man of wealth and power, was known for his ruthless business dealings and a thirst for the occult. His obsession led him down a path of dark rituals, performed in the secrecy of the house's labyrinthine basement. The whispers of the town spoke of strange happenings, of shadows moving in the corners of their eyes, and of an eerie silence that fell upon the house at the stroke of midnight. They spoke of the patriarch's sudden death, his eyes wide in eternal terror. His family, too, met with untimely ends. A daughter disappeared without a trace, and a son, driven to madness, took his own life. Years turned into decades, and the house changed hands more times than the townsfolk could count. Yet, each new owner was driven out, unable to bear the oppressive atmosphere and unexplainable occurrences that plagued the house. It was as if the very walls of the house were imbued with the fear and despair of its previous inhabitants. In the quiet hours of the night, one could hear the distant echo of a child's laughter, or the desperate wails of a man lost in his own mind. The house seemed to breathe, its rooms pulsating with an energy that was as intoxicating as it was terrifying. This house, this monument to human folly and the unseen, has seen more tragedy than any building should. Each room is a chapter in its horrifying history. Each creak of its old wooden floors a testament to the lives lost and the souls trapped within its walls. The spirits of the past are trapped here, bound by their unresolved stories. One night, as the clock strikes midnight, the house reveals its true nature. Under the cloak of darkness, the house awakens. Time as we know it ceases to exist, replaced by an eerie stillness that stretches out into infinity. The rooms, once familiar, now seem alien and foreboding, shadows twisting into grotesque shapes on the walls. The silence is deafening, yet it's not silent at all. The house breathes, creaks and groans, whispering tales of the horrors it has seen. Suddenly a chilling gust of wind sweeps through the house, making the old timber shudder. It carries with it a mournful wail, a cry from the past, echoing through the corridors and seeping into the marrow of your bones. It's a sound that transcends time, a spectral lament that sends shivers down your spine. In the heart of the house, the air grows denser, heavier, as though charged with a primordial energy that throbs with anticipation. You can feel it, a pulsating rhythm, like a heartbeat, growing stronger with each passing moment. It's a presence, invisible yet palpable, a spectral entity that thrives in the shadows, feeding off fear and despair. Out of the corner of your eye, you catch a glimpse of something, a flicker of movement, a spectral figure that vanishes as quickly as it appears. It's them, the spirits of the house, the echoes of its dark past. They're not just remnants of bygone eras, they're the house, the very essence of its existence. You can feel their anguish, their sorrow, their rage, all culminating in a terrifying encounter that leaves you breathless. You're not alone in this house. The spirits are watching, waiting, their spectral eyes boring into your soul. They linger in the shadows, in the corners of your vision, always just out of sight but never out of mind. And in the dead of the night, when the world outside is sound asleep, they make their presence known, reminding you that you're a guest in their eternal abode. In this house, the line between the living and the dead is blurred. As dawn breaks, the horrors of the night fade away, but the memory remains. The darkness of the night has a way of amplifying our deepest fears, of making the unseen seem all too real. And when the unseen is a haunting presence in a home with a dark history, the fear becomes tangible, a chilling reminder of the terrors that lurk in the shadows. As we reflect on the haunting experience, the chilling encounters, we realize that the house itself, with its creaky floorboards and drafty hallways, became a character in this horrifying tale. It's not just a structure of bricks and mortar, but a living, breathing entity, echoing with the silent screams and hidden horrors of its past. Every room in the house had a story to tell, a story steeped in a horrifying history that unfolded layer by layer as the night wore on. The echoes of the past seeped through the walls, taking form in the unseen presence that sent shivers down our spine, making our heart pound in our chest. The encounter, while terrifying, was a stark reminder of the house's dark past. The unseen presence, the unexplained occurrences, they weren't just figments of an overactive imagination. They were real as the cold sweat trickling down our brow, the goosebumps prickling our skin. Even as the first rays of dawn pierced through the gloom, casting long shadows across the deserted rooms, the horror lingered, like an icy breath on the back of our neck. And though the night had passed, the memory of the chilling encounter remained, branded in our minds, forever etching the house's horrifying history in our consciousness. And so, we leave the house, stepping out into the light of a new day. But as we move away, we can't help but look back, the image of the house imprinted in our minds, a stark silhouette against the rising sun, a constant reminder of the horrors it holds within. As the door closes behind you, you can't help but wonder, What other houses hide such sinister secrets behind their ordinary facades?